Here is how my views towards Australia have changed since living here. Now, I am a Brit that moved from the UK to Australia when I was 21. That was over 3 years ago now. I have been in Australia for 2.5 years. I'm now on my 3rd year working holiday visa and most likely my final year here in Australia due to Brits only being able to do 3 years in Australia. And I'm making today's video because there is definitely a list of things which have changed in my opinion from my 1st year living here in Australia to my 3rd year. Some differences I've noticed, and also how my mind and my thoughts towards living in Australia has changed during that time. And in today's video, we're going to talk about 11 of them differences that I have noticed, because there is a fair few. So stick around for this one. Before we get into it though, make sure you give the video a like and subscribe to the channel. And yeah, let's get into it. Now, point number 1 is my overall feelings being in Australia. First of all, when you first arrive in Australia, any Brits that have made the move from the UK will know this, and it is that it feels like a constant holiday to start with. You feel so free, you're full of excitement, and because you've made this exciting move to the other side of the world, you are just filled with like vibes. Like honestly, that was one of the most carefree periods of my life, that kind of initial few months moving to Australia. And it's such a big move that that kind of feeling lasts for quite a while, at least the first 6 months or so, I would say, maybe even longer. That feeling of, oh my god, I'm in Australia, like that feeling lasts a very long time, even through like the 1st year in general, especially considering you've still got so much of the country to travel. Compare that to today in my 3rd year, and I wouldn't say that feeling has completely gone, but it's definitely not the same. Obviously, I don't get that feeling anymore of, oh my god, I'm in Australia, this is insane. I've been living here 2.5 years, so it's definitely not the case. I don't like it any less than I did then. I still love Australia and I appreciate living in Australia every day. But now it's a much more chilled out vibe. I'm just living in Australia, I'm enjoying the vibes, enjoying the country that I currently live in. But it's definitely different to that initial buzz, that excitement that you get when you first move. That isn't the case anymore. Being out of the UK 3 and a bit years, it does go. And now, whilst I don't feel the same excitement, I do when I travel. Of course, that still comes back when I travel. I did a bit of traveling a few weeks ago and that feeling does come back. But when you're settled and working, it's more just a chilled out vibe and enjoying where you are compared to that initial excitement. Now, the next difference is when I first moved, I didn't miss anything about the UK. In fact, the thought of moving back to the UK was terrible. There was nothing I missed at all. I didn't even miss any people. I was that much in this kind of excitement period, like I said, about moving to Australia. It was so exciting that I actually didn't miss anything about the UK. And I actually thought that I would never miss anything about the UK because I literally missed nothing. But fast forward to my 3rd year, and there is things now which I start to miss. Mostly people, to be honest. I don't miss the country that much. I think since I've been away, the UK has gone right downhill, even more so than when I left. It's crazy, so I definitely don't miss that side of it. But when you've been away from your friends and your family for like 3 years, you do start to miss things. You miss having a close group of friends and just being able to do stuff like on the weekends. And as much as the days off are amazing in Australia, it's not the same when there's just a few of you, or you know, it's just me and my girlfriend that live here. So it would be nice to have more friends, which is kind of hard when you move around a lot. So at first I missed nothing. Now there is some things I miss, mostly the people. Point number 3, in my 1st year, when it was hot, it felt hot, honestly. I arrived in Sydney just before winter, so that first sort of 4 months of Australia, I didn't really feel any heat. When it came to my first summer in Australia, I was like, this is so hot. I struggled a bit with the heat, not too much because I do like the hot weather, but I did struggle a bit in that 1st year to do with the heat. But fast forward to the 3rd year, and I'm very used to the heat all year round, to be honest. I'm living in Cairns right now, where it is like late 20s every single day, 28, 29 degrees, some days 30 degrees. And to be honest, it just feels very normal now. It doesn't feel like an extra hot day. Back in my 1st year, I was like in the aircon all the time. Now I could literally spend all day in the sun and be absolutely fine. And to be honest, I do worry about going back to the UK to the cold, because I've adapted to the heat so much here in Australia. Point number 4 is in my first year, I was very paranoid about bugs and snakes and spiders and all that kind of thing. I remember checking under the toilet seat, just being paranoid everywhere. When I used to go on a hike, I'd be just so paranoid about bugs. Then I realized I've been in Australia for a few years and I literally saw no bugs, seen like the odd snake, no spiders, and after a while, you just get used to it. I feel like there's this massive reputation of Australia, everything wanting to kill you, every animal. But when you move here, it's actually not really the case. But because what you've seen online, I was very paranoid to start with. Now, it doesn't even cross my mind, to be honest. Unless I'm in like the jungle, but day to day, I definitely don't worry anymore. Point number 5 is Aussies and their accents used to stand out quite a lot compared to now where they just, well, I'm just so used to it. And if I hear an English accent, someone from the UK, that stands out more to me now. Being in Australia, I'm so used to the Aussie accent, especially working in like customer service jobs. You get so used to the Australian accent. And to be honest, sometimes you can't even tell the difference between English and Australian accents half the time because you're so used to both of them. If anything, now it catches my attention way more if I hear another English accent compared to an Australian one, which when you've been around for a few years, you get very used to it. Point number 6 is friendships. In the first year, everyone was very welcoming in Australia and I definitely found it easy to get on with Aussies, I would say. I thought Aussies were probably more welcoming than people in the UK. I got that vibe straight away, so I thought it wasn't going to be a massive issue making friends in Australia. But fast forward to my 3rd year and I'm kind of surprised that I've really not made many close friends living abroad. I've made friends, but no one as close to people I've got back home, mostly due to the fact that we've moved around so much, lived in so many different places, traveled all over. And when you make close friends, it does take a decent amount of time to actually build a close friendship. When you're in a place for a few months at a time, yes, you'll get to know people and you'll get on with them, but in terms of making very close friends, I've realized that it doesn't really happen. But in my first year, I thought Aussies were very friendly and welcoming, so I thought it was going to be easy to make friends. Fast forward 3 years, it's not really the case. Point number 7 is in the first year of Australia, your days off literally feel insane. Like you cannot believe it that your days off consist of going to the beach and sitting at nice outdoor bars in 30-degree sun, swimming in the sea, going to events. You cannot believe that you're living this life. Your days off are so much better than what they are in the UK where, to be honest, all I used to do is chill and then probably go to the pub and go out in the evening. That would be most of my days off. But again, this is similar to the first point and it's fast forward to a 3rd year and days off are still amazing, of course, but now it's just normal because I've been living these days, having these days off for 3 years now, going down the beach, seeing this amazing scenery. And whilst it is still amazing, you definitely become very normalized to it, like you would with anything. But sometimes you do just have to stop and like appreciate it for a second because it's mad how used to doing amazing stuff you get. And it's something which on a 3rd year, I would say you do have to like remind yourself that, you know, you are in Australia having a day off on the beach. Like this is amazing. And obviously it still is amazing, but in your first year, you obviously appreciate it so much. In your 3rd year, it's still amazing, but it feels very normal now. I almost think it needs to take me going back to the UK or something to then really appreciate it again, but yeah. Point number 8 is when you move, you are completely free. I was 21 when I moved to Australia, so I had no real pressure to kind of know what I wanted to do with my life. I wasn't that worried about my career and making money and progressing and that kind of thing and thinking about my future. I was only 21 and it had been COVID, so all I wanted to do was have some fun, see the world. It was so stress-free because of that. But fast forward to the 3rd year, I'm 25 now, so with future plans, obviously we're going to be leaving Australia after our 3rd year. There's a lot to sort out in the future. I'm thinking way more about career, making money, and there's just a lot more pressure now. And whilst I can still enjoy it and feel sort of free in Australia, there's a lot more pressure now to kind of be making progress, be thinking about the future. When I was 21, when I first moved, that wasn't the case really at all, so I could 100% fully enjoy it. Now, whilst I can still enjoy it, there's half of me which is thinking about the future a lot more. Point number 9 is when I first moved, I cared about nightlife and going out, compared to now in a third year where I literally don't care, and I fully embrace the chilled out Aussie lifestyle of getting up early, relaxing, chilling in the sun, getting exercise. I feel like this is something to do with definitely getting older, but also being in Australia where nightlife isn't a massive thing. Once I kind of got that going out period out of my system in the first few months, I didn't really care about it anymore. And I went out a lot in my first year, drinking, partying, all that kind of thing. But fast forward to a third year now, I hardly ever go out. If I drink, it's gonna be a few chill drinks in the sun, on the beach, whatever. I still do that, of course, but I don't really care about going out. It's definitely to do with getting older, but now I feel like I've properly embraced that Australian lifestyle of being healthy, getting up early, getting in the sun, that sort of thing. Point number 10 is when I first moved, working a normal job actually felt okay because it was exciting. It was my first job in Australia. Like I said, my days off were exciting. I was still in this initial period of feeling so free. So working regular jobs for pretty much that whole first year felt fine. I worked on a farm, literally picking fruit, like terrible work, but it was still fun and it was part of this amazing experience. Fast forward to a third year now, and when I've still got to work normal jobs, I just don't like it anymore, and I don't have the patience to be working normal jobs, to be honest, hence why I'm trying and better my career. Working normal jobs in a first year, I could manage it and it was still kind of a little bit exciting. But now, having worked lots of different jobs across Australia, I just don't enjoy working normal jobs anymore. And point number 10 is when I first moved, I thought Australia had no issues. It was like this perfect country, and the UK was terrible, and the UK had all the issues and Australia had none. And whilst I do think the UK's issues are worse than Australia in 2025, Australia does have its own issues. It's got its housing, immigration, the crime is going up in Australia. It's not really something you think about when you first move because you think Australia is perfect, because look, it is a lot better than the UK in most ways. When you're looking at most issues, the UK is way worse off, so moving to Australia, it does feel almost perfect. But living here for a few years, not necessarily seeing it myself, but just hearing a lot from other Aussies, maybe it isn't so perfect as what I thought it was. So they are 11 points about how my views have changed from my first year to my third year in Australia. One thing I will say is I didn't like Australia any more then than I did now. I still love living in Australia, but I think most of these things are just natural when living in a place for 3 years. Obviously, you're gonna have this crazy wave of excitement and carefreeness when you first move compared to your third year, where first of all, you get very used to living here, but also that kind of future plans, and you know, you need to start earning money, you need to start working towards your future, planning ahead where you're gonna live, that sort of thing. Once you've been here 3 years and you do get to your mid-20s, that does start creeping in as well. And some of these points are just to do with me getting older as well, to be fair. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments on this one if you're from Australia, and also if you've been living in Australia yourself from the UK, maybe you can relate to some of these. If you need any help moving to Australia, I have released a Moving to Australia guide, which I'll leave on the screen and at the top of the description. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.